What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Tonight I wanted to talk about Bally's 1956 Parade. Parade is another game which has a feature which was only used in one machine. And that is the extra lines feature. But before we get into that, let's talk about how Bingo Pinball works. Just a brief primer for anyone new who's listening. A bingo card is a 5x5 card made up of 25 different numbers. The bingo playfield, where you shoot your balls, is made up of 25 trap holes with a 26th hole called the ball return, which will actually lift the ball right back to you if you manage to work it all the way down the playfield at no penalty to the player. The game ends after you shoot 5 balls, at which point there is typically a decision point on most of the bingos produced. Do you want to play for extra ball, or do you want to start a new game? Now, bingos are multi-coin games, and that means that in order to get the features which allow you to move numbers or allow you to earn big scores, you have to put in more and more money. The payoff is, if you're able to make your numbers and get 3, 4, or 5 in a row, you'll win the amount of replays indicated by the odds shown on the Backglass. In Parade's case, there are advancing odds. They go all the way from 4 for 3 in a row to 48 for 3 in a row, 16 for 4 in a row to 144 for 4 in a row, 64 for 5 in a row, all the way up to 192. Now, this game's similar to the games Nightclub and Broadway before it, has double, triple, and quadruple scoring. This means that on certain lines on the bingo card, they are denoted or highlighted with a background color. In this case, either red or green. The two advance independently, so you can earn double odds in the yellow and have quadruple odds in the green, or have neither have any advantage. But because you can have quadruple odds, the maximum payout for this game is actually 576 replays. That's pretty darn cool. Now, this game also features the magic squares. The magic squares are quadrants of numbers, typically in the corners of the bingo card, which allow you to rotate the numbers around to get maximum advantage. For example, if I had red scores double, then I could rotate the numbers in the A quadrant so that 2 numbers show up in the red line. It's pretty handy. Whereas before, maybe they were vertically oriented, or maybe they were on the green line, which is underneath. This game does not have any spotted numbers, which many of the Magic Squares games had. Instead, A, B, and C are awarded as your first set of awards on the Magic Squares, and then it will randomly award D after that. This game has an extended time tree. By default, it will lock you out of the rotating numbers feature before shooting your 4th ball, but in this case, you can earn the ability to shoot one more ball before it locks you out. This game also brings back the Ballyhole. The Ballyhole is number 16. If you land in number 16 for this game, it will award you the first extra ball without having to pay any extra money. Typically, at the end of the game, this game has the extra ball feature, of course. At the end of the game, you put in more money in order to attempt to earn an extra ball. You can earn up to 3, which gives you a total of 8 chances to get a 3, 4, or 5 in a row. Now, this game's unique feature is the extra line feature. And in this case, The line at the top of the bingo card on the Backglass, above the first row, which is typically shown on a bingo card, has the word extra in it. As you pay money, it'll randomly light top extra line, and in that case, it will slide that out of the way, revealing another set of numbers. It does the same thing on the bottom. So this is the only game with a 7x5 bingo card. And what that means, of course, is repeating numbers. Now, none of the lines move in the cross in the center of the bingo card, as is typical for these early Magic Squares games, but also the lines at the top and the bottom cannot be repositioned. However, having the extra lines means that, for example, if I get the number 7, the number 4, and the number 9, and I have Magic Squares A, B, and C lit, I can rotate A so that 7, 9, and 4 are in a row, whereas normally they would not be without that first extra line. So this is a pretty handy feature, actually. So let's talk about artwork. The Backglass is comprised of stars and stripes, but they're muted and shown in blue hues. On the left-hand side, your advancing odds are shown with dancing girls with incredibly comically large hats and bathing suits. And in a rare event, the odds actually count vertically, so it starts at the bottom and works its way up. The advancing odds will either light on the ladies' swimwear or on their huge hats as it goes up towards the replay counter up at the top left. On the right-hand side, beside the bingo card, you have your double, triple, and quadruple red and green squares and indicators. Your bingo card is, of course, the main highlight, and the word extra on the top and bottom line is a very attractive blue with white lettering. Below that, you have two ladies posing on top of the Magic Squares feature set and the indicator for your time tree running out. There's a little set of lamps behind that will flash right before the game locks you out of that feature so that you know this is your last opportunity to actually press those buttons. On the right-hand side is your time tree, on the left-hand side are your extra line indicators, and below that are your extra balls. The playfield on this has a bunch of different women, and it looks like they are in a beauty contest, or I guess in a parade, although I guess the parade's over, and they're handing out awards. I'm not really sure what's going on. But in any case, they're on a winding staircase, and to the left and right, you have kind of a forested area and a grassy field. And what's really nice is how the light towers, which on a typical 25-hole bingo playfield, you have two sets of 4 light towers which line either side of the playfield. And those light towers are integrated in the artwork. There's a little field of flowers that one is sitting on. The others are directly to the left and right of the central woman on the playfield. And up at the top, under the ball arch, it appears to be a lake. Again, I'm not really sure what's happening, but there are a lot of people, a lot of detail, a lot of interesting things on this playfield. And the perspective on the stairs is particularly cool. As far as the cabinet, you have alternating squares or rectangles of yellow and pink with the big trophy in the center and stars and lines shooting out of that. It's a pretty cool design. It's not particularly complex when compared with many of the other stencils, but it is comprised of several different colors, and so again, it's more detailed than you might expect on a typical flipper game. Now, as far as playability, when I play this game, of course the obvious answer is yes. I don't think I've talked about a single game that I wouldn't run up and play if I had the opportunity. I've never played this one. I think the extra lines is an intriguing feature. I'm not sure how great of a feature it is. Obviously, Bally got some pushback on that. Otherwise, they would have designed more games with it. I do think that having any repeating numbers, any numbers where if you sink a ball in one place, it lights 2 or more places on the backglass, is pretty helpful. But the fact that they took away spotted numbers means that you have to work a little bit harder to get your gimme wins, and by that I mean a 2 or 18 on, say, a nightclub or a Broadway kind of sets you up for sets in A and B, those rotating number sets, especially where you might not have any other combinations. And if you have after 5th lit, say on nightclub, you can fairly easily get a winner for at least something, even if you play incredibly terribly like I do. So, that said, I would love to try this and see just how good of a feature it is. I think the backglass animation is attractive. It's a cool idea. I'm just not certain how well it would work in practice. But, as I say, it is a player advantage, despite it not looking like that. Of course, it can spot more than 2 positions, but it's not a gimme, it's not a freebie. So, that's my only qualm with it. Otherwise, I love the artwork. I think it's going to be a good player because it's got that magic squares feature, and what's not to love about magic squares, really. The vertical odds alone makes it intriguing to me. One last note if you've been following along. The next game in line was actually 1956's Nightclub. However, I've talked about that in episode 172, so check that out if you're curious about the differences between that and Broadway and that in Parade. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.